Hello, it is I, Sir Devon of Kang Productions, and welcome back to another episode of the Drummond State line, where today we alter the hills, because it looks really messy. As you can see, they don't look like hills, they look like walls, so I'm going to fix that now. And I go mad with the plateauing option. Yeah, I've done a lot of plateauing here. In fact, you could call me the plateauing king. The king of plateaus. So I then decide to plateau it like so. One thing I did encounter though was the hills being a bit too pointy. And I think the ground looked a bit like a level from a video game. Looked like one of the unexplored worlds in Mass Effect 1. Yeah, I should really do a... Don't worry, I'm gonna... Yeah. So anywho, sorry, what was I gonna say? See, I then went mad with the plateau option. You can see how mad I went. But also because the hill thing looked too straight and narrow, and I also went ballistic with the texture option. Yeah, I think I'm gonna alter that because I think I put too much of that texture on there and I should have kept it green. And also these points of the hills are a bit too pointy, too jagged, so I think I'm going to, next time, I'm going to change that up a bit by flattening them out a bit. But yeah, I'm continuing to paint this entire section. I decided to add this section on in the previous video because this was just too small. So I'm just clearing my throat. And then paint all this texture on here. I'm also going to do a bit more plateauing of the river, because I think it wasn't deep enough. I think I'm going to get rid of those tall hills as well some point along the line. In fact, I've just done that now. So yeah, as you can see, I go ballistic with the texture. Like completely ballistic, so I'm gonna go back to that and alter it when I get the chance, and also paint this section. In fact, widen this a bit, because I was originally going to put a big motorway on there, but the plateauing of that river made it even wider, so I then had to, and this is also a problem with it, because if you add that, you can go to the mountain line, which will get pretty annoying. I guess I really didn't think about that when I was constructing the mountain line. I was a bit, you know, about conflicted about how to do things, but I decided I'm going to keep it in there. And of course this was a massive job, because this is a big stretch of river, this big stretch of track, this never-ending stretch of track, I should say. But I also later on went for the tactic of continuing to circle and then closing in. And it really is, you know, a ginormous stretch of track, and I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm going to add a motorway. What I think I might have to do is add an extra bit of road. I don't know. I might add an extra bit of land just so the motorway can go through the mountain, or in that case build a little bridge so it can go to the other side of Greendale and then towards Stellick. Now I think I'm going to start the motorway from here, Now we have this problem of the river, which I then had to plateau a lot more in order to get the water in. But we have a bit of a problem with water, as it will present itself momentarily. But yeah, I did some more plateauing. I like this. I like the improvements that I've done to this river. I think I'm glad that I plateaued it all and I decided to modify it. Yeah, here's the problem we got. The river water isn't level with the water I've just added, and this caused a ton of problems for the other bits of the river. So I didn't know where on earth it was going to be, where the problems were, and what I'd have to do in order to improve it. So yeah, I decided to level it up a bit. That's one annoying thing about this, is water doesn't align with the other bits of water. And I also realised that we need to plateau this even more than last episode and add a few more bits on. So there I was, having to go all the way back to Hatton and plateau the entire river again. Well, for one thing, I actually did enjoy it, because it gives me something else to focus on other than getting it rushed. And of course, you can't rush perfection. You know, taking things slow, and this was something else that I found annoying. So I had to... Yeah, the river thing, the water thing in this is very annoying, because, you know, if you've built a bloody big stretch of river and you add one bit that isn't quite level, you've got to go all the way along and change it up a bit. You could add one of those canal gates. You know what they have? You know, those little canal gates that you have. I could have added those, but now I think about it. But I suppose what happens. So I wanted to plateau. This bit was really annoying to get plateaued. I didn't realise it was that deep, so I had to go on and plateau everything. Plateau this, plateau that, plateau everything. Oh, yeah, that was another mistake I kept making, and it kept doing the water thing as well. So I had to go all the way back just to, you know, inspect. And there it was. So I finished on the river. After I finished on the river, I went for the other stretch of line heading towards Siren. Now, the bit towards Siren is... Yeah, the bit towards Siren, I had to realign some of the track in order to make it straight, as you will see in a moment or two. And as you're about to see, I'm about to straighten up the track a wee bit, because I don't want any trains to crash, and it looked a bit nonsensical if we have a big curve there. So I straightened it up. You know what they say, you can't rush perfection. So we then paint the bit heading towards Siren. Now we are at the port, or the harbour. So I painted all that a gravelly metallic steel-like colour. I also was a bit conflicted over what to paint the texture, so I kept with the dark green for the grass, but for this I decided to go all gravelly because it's a harbour. And I might add a few more things here. I might even add the fisherman's friends to have a little cameo. I might as well add the Wurzels in it at Hatton while I'm at it. So, yeah, I then painted this bit gravelly. So, I think the Siren town is going to have to be another area. Going to have to add new land to add the town of Siren. Then we go on to the beach part of Siren. So I had to go all over the seafront and paint it a sand-like texture. I hate sand. It gets everywhere and it's annoying. And some of it also went on the track. I didn't want to have that. So I then added the entranceway to the beach. Now, I've seen this on many British beaches. It's based on the British seaside, of course. It's part British seaside, part Canadian fishing village. Hence why it was named after the show Siren, which lasted about 3 seasons, I think. I loved Siren until the season 3 finale, when it got a bit, they introduced too many mermaids. Was a huge fan of Alex Rowe's acting. I loved the setting of Siren. But anywho, yeah. So I then plateaued it, and also it kept getting deeper, so I had to ensure that it was safe for everyone. So like your typical seaside where you've got your level area of the sea, and that bit there, the bit that ended diagonally, that prompted me to add more land to it. I then plateaued the bridge area because it looked really untidy, but then that also resulted in I also helped with the bridge as well. That also I'll finish plateauing and then I'll get to the main station. You've probably noticed by now why I have to go back to Siren Station. So this bit is inspired by the British seaside and Bristol Cove, which is the fictional place from Siren. I also had to remove some of the sea to make it look like a beach. Also, a bit of the bridge there kind of reminded me a bit of Underground Ernie. I believe that there was a station where it was kind of like Modular City's Island station, but I seem to remember there being a station like that in Underground Ernie. I know it's been a long time since I watched Underground Ernie, but anywho, yeah. Then I had to add a bit more of the sea. Now, one problem I ran into was the land getting too big for this. Was the land popping out of the sea, but some of that I kind of forgave because there are beaches where there is still land, where some of the land pops out. This is the annoying thing about plateauing, that it can override your track sometimes. So I plateaued it even more. I just wanted it to be level, that was all. But I didn't realise it would end up getting like this. So now it looks much more like a beach with the tide and all that. And I might add some people. I might add a few things on there. I don't know. I'll see how it goes. Because I want Siren not just to be a fishing village, but I also want it to be a tourist destination for holidaymakers. And I love the coast. It's inspired, as I've said, by Bristol Cove or British Columbia in Canada, and the other places in British Columbia, as well as, now this is the problem with the station, sorry, as I was saying, as well as the British seaside. So this was a problem because the level things went a bit, the ground bits went a bit too high, so, and out of line with the station, so I had to put it right. And I leveled it down a bit, as with the bridge. And this was also a bit of a problem, because you had your slope area, because you had your track floating for no reason, so I had to alter it a wee bit. I think what I should have done is add a bit more land and then add a little bit of a bridge, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, haha. And then this is the bit, so I inspect the beach, and this is the bit where I had to get my knuckles down, and I had my finger pressed on the mouse all throughout, because I had to simply level this down to sea level. I might add an extra bit of land in, wait for it, hold on, in the area where it ends. So that bit that ends on a diagonal, of a diagonal bit. So I didn't expect to make that many changes to the river towards Hatton. I originally wanted to just plateau the river to a sensible level, but obviously that didn't work out. So I had to go, I leveled it out a bit more, and I'm glad I did, because, you know, it looks more now like a real river. And then as for Siren, I went on and, of course, painted the texture for the harbour. Nice that we're making more progress now towards finishing painting the terrain. And the closer we get to painting the terrain, the sooner we get to add in all the nice little buildings and all the nice little designs. And I get to go full on architecture and name something after a sci-fi character. But yeah, I didn't expect to make that many alterations in this episode, I'm not going to lie. But I'm kind of glad that I did. And I look forward to making more in the next video. So, thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye and good night.